The Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act is Republicans taking aim at trans kids again. Chris Graham here, Augusta Free Press. 3% of U.S. high school students identify as transgender. Republicans won't rest until they all die by suicide. The evidence of this, the latest swipe at trans kids, is the Orwellian Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, nice name there, which passed the U.S. House on Tuesday. The legislation, led by a Florida election-denying MAGA named Greg Steube, would change the federal Title IX law to exclude protections for transgender people and would revoke federal funding for schools that allow trans girls and women to play on sports teams that align with their general gender identity. This is the classic solution in search of a problem. NCAA President Charlie Baker, in testimony in a hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee last month, said there are less than 10 trans athletes among the more than 500,000 competing in NCAA schools. Less than 10. And yet we have Republicans who don't know Caitlyn Clark from Caitlyn Jenner lining up to protect girls and women from quote, biological males being allowed to compete against them in sports. Here's a quote from Ben Klein. The left, he says, he's a guy on the right, he says, the left has embarked on a relentless campaign to rewrite Title IX, aiming to erase the critical distinctions between men and women, boys and girls. This misguided agenda, Klein said, poses a direct threat to the very spirit of Title IX, opening the doors for biological males to compete in women's sports, thereby undermining the hard-won accomplishments of female athletes nationwide. Good news, Mr. Klein. Good biological males aren't competing in women's sports. And you're well aware of that. Okay, I might be overselling what the Ben Kleins of the world are aware of. He's a nice guy. He's affable, but he's not that bright. The architects of the strategy to whip up the odds, who have Fox News on a TV in every room of the House, know what they're doing, though. Here's a quote from Jennifer McClellan, a Democrat who represents Virginia's 4th District in the Richmond area. Instead of focusing on the issues that matter to the American people, House Republicans would rather capitalize on the concerning rise in transphobia and villainize a vulnerable, marginalized population. This Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, quote, poses a real and serious risk to girls as young as 4 years old by subjecting them to personal questions about their bodies. And even more disturbingly, the bill permits physical inspections of young girls' genitals by adult strangers without parents present. Now, she says, as a mother of an elementary school student, I find that possibility appalling, and I think anybody should, whether you're a parent of a young girl or anybody or anything. It's appalling. No child or parent should have to worry that their privacy or even their very body can be violated any time if they consider participating in a sport. Here we go. So it's the stupid culture wars. This is what this is. It's particularly aimed at the white old folks to vote for Republicans. This is why you saw the Trump campaign spend $19 million last fall on TV ads focused on trans issues. This is according to Ad Impact, advertising sector website, which reported that the ads with the message, Kamala is for they, them, President Trump's for you. You might have seen one of these signs in someone's front yard. They were aired during college football and NFL broadcasts more than 52,000 times in the final 2 weeks of the election season alone. Okay, great. Here's a quote from Ben Klein again, our good friend. Let me be clear. House Republicans will not idly stand by while the radical left diminishes over 5 decades of progress for women. He was proud of this. He had his staff post this to his Twitter account, this 1 minute and 2 seconds on this issue. He's wanting to make clear that people think he's doing stuff to protect women and girls. Now, this Ben Klein guy has never met a reproductive right he doesn't think is worthy of undermining, but that's another story for another day. More from Klein, the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act is essential for ensuring that all young women who aspire to play sports have the opportunity to compete fairly, preserving fairness and protecting their achievements. We must safeguard the integrity of female athletics so that young women can succeed in sports for generations to come. Now, it's interesting, he didn't mention his young twin daughters in this. Maybe they don't like sports. Just like Jennifer McClellan, though, another Democrat from Virginia in the House, Eugene Vindman, who was just elected to the 7th District seat, just sworn in here a few weeks ago, did cite his young daughter in explaining why he voted against the culture wars legislation. As a father to my young daughter, Vindman said, I believe we need to ensure competitive sports for women and girls are protected. However, you can't protect women's sports by defunding them, which is what this bill does. Hey, isn't that something? Yeah, they're actually going to defund schools, right? That's the ultimate aim here, to be honest. These decisions should be left to parents, coaches, teachers, and families, not DC politicians, Vindman said. This bill could open the door to young girls experiencing intrusive questioning or worse, as Jennifer McCullen's statement made clear. I will not rubber stamp bad policy, Vindman said. Republicans should stop focusing on culture wars and start getting to work on lowering costs, investing in public education, and increasing access to affordable health care. Vindman hits the nail on the head there, by the way, at the end of his statement. Culture war bills are your signal that Republicans don't want to do anything substantive to lower costs, to make our schools better, to improve our health care. But those less than 10 trans kids in the NCAA, they can all go to hell.